Hello guys, welcome back to our next topic. And this topic will be learning about the supply and demand, which only related to the Bystra setup. So without further ado, let's get started. So supply and demand, it is actually very simple. We will use supply and demand in Bystra context as an entry point, or we will mark our zone. So the rules of supply and demand, it is very simple and easy. First, we have to only sell at the supply zone and buy at the demand zone. Now do not go and buy at the supply zone or sell at the demand zone. This is against the nature of supply and demand. So remember this, guys, very important. Next, let's have a look at the types of supply and demand. So there are 4 types of S&D, 2 out of which is the supply zone. So let's have a look what is the supply zone. Supply zone consists of 2 types, which is the Rayleigh base drop and also the drop base drop. And the other 2 types of demand zone is the drop base Rayleigh and also the Rayleigh base Rayleigh. I will show you few of these example later on. Most important, guys, you have to remember these 4 types of supply and demand. Okay, so next, 2 of these here are the reversal and 2 of the base here are the continuation. Do you want to take a guess? Let's try this. The Rayleigh base drop RBD will fall under the reversal category. Same goes with drop base Rayleigh will be falls under the category of reversal, whereas the drop base drop and the Rayleigh base Rayleigh are the continuation category. Simple, isn't it? Remember this, guys, don't get confused with the reversal or the continuation of S&D base. Okay, let's have a look at the supply zone. So as we know that there are 2 types of supply zone, which is the Rayleigh base drop and the drop base drop. So let's have a look at the Rayleigh base drop. The Rayleigh base drop would have something similar, this kind of pattern. This is a base area. So if we look at the candlestick chart, here is the Rayleigh base drop. So I'm going to mark the zone. So mark the zone like this. So this is our base, Rayleigh base drop. Same goes here. So here is the Rayleigh base. This blue color is the base and price drop. So let's have a look at the drop base drop. Drop base drop. This something similar, this kind of pattern. We go to the candlestick chart. Let's mark our zone. So this is a drop. This blue area is the base and drop. And we mark at the candlestick chart. Here we can see is the drop. This blue color is the base and drop. Okay, and this one is also could be a drop base drop. This can be a drop base drop. This can be a drop base drop as well. So now let's look at the demand zone. So at the demand zone we have the drop base Rayleigh and the Rayleigh base Rayleigh. So the drop base Rayleigh, something similar like this in the chart I will show you in a while. So we mark the base here, and in this candlestick chart we can see this is the drop base Rayleigh. And then let's look at the Rayleigh base Rayleigh, something similar like this. This is the candlestick chart, and we mark this as the base. So here there are a lot. One of it is here. Okay, Rayleigh base Rayleigh. This can be Rayleigh base Rayleigh. This can be Rayleigh base Rayleigh. This can be Rayleigh base Rayleigh. This as well and this as well. Okay, most important part is that we can identify which is the base, the demand zone, and also the supply zone. So how do we mark the S&D? For Bystra setup, we only using the intermittent base or zone. So what is an intermittent base or zone? I will show you in a while. First, this is a candlestick chart. For example, this is the base. Okay, guys. So full base, normally we mark from the shadow to the shadow. So this count as a full base. For an intermittent base, we only mark from the body to the body like this. So remember, guys, all of our Bystra setup, all of our entry point and so on will be only using the base, which is the intermittent base. Okay, guys, as our entry point of supply and demand. Now let's look at this one. Here there are 4 types of our supply and demand. So the Rayleigh base drop, this is falls under which category? Under the supply and the reversal category. So how do we mark the base for this? We mark here. Okay, this base, only the body. So price comes in and then come to this, react to this base and continue on the downtrend. So same goes with drop base drop. This is also a supply zone. Price comes in and continue on the downtrend. Remember guys, all we mark at the base only. Same goes with the drop base rally for demand zone. Price comes in, continue on the upward, and the Rayleigh base rally, price comes in and go to the uptrend. So I'm going to show you something from the big time frame and what is it in the small time frame. So let's go to the trading view. Hi guys, so we are back at the trading view. So I'm going to show you some example of what it looks like at the big time frame and how it looks like in the small time frame. So let's start with the supply zone. So supply zone, we will start with the Rayleigh base drop. As you can see here, there is a Rayleigh base drop in this area. So I'm going to highlight it with purple color. Let's see if we can, purple color, I can't feel it. Okay, it's okay. So let's say we mark this as our Rayleigh base drop. Okay, so you can see Rayleigh base drop. If we move to the smaller time frame, you will look, there's a lot of things happening inside here. See, it will looks very differently. And then if you go to the H4, it will looks like this. This is the base. Okay, so this base is what we call the weekly time frame Rayleigh base drop. Okay, so we go back to the weekly time frame again. As you can see, in the smaller time frame, you will see a lot of things happening in that zone. And then the next thing we look is the drop base drop. So drop base drop, I'm going to shift this here to here. Here we can see a drop base drop. This area, okay, this is a drop base drop. So I'm just going to mark this full zone just for you to see what is going on inside the S&D area. So if we move to the daily time frame, as you can see, there are a lot of things happen as well. Okay, so it looks like a Rayleigh base drop, but actually in the weekly time frame it's a drop base drop. In the daily time frame, it looks like a Rayleigh base drop. Price come back into this zone and then continue on a downtrend. So let's go back to the weekly time frame. So now we look for the demand zone. So here there's a demand zone. Okay, this is the drop base rally. So I'm going to mark this area drop base rally. Here we go. So if we go to the daily time frame again, what can we see? There are a lot. Okay, so this is a base. So if you move to the daily time frame, this can become a smaller base here. Okay, so there are smaller base inside here. If you go to the H4 time frame, you can see there are a lot of things happening as well. Okay, there we go. So on H4 time frame, you can see there's a, this is what we call the demand zone base. Okay, demand zone base for the daily, and outside here is the weekly. So, and then we go back to the weekly, and then we look for the Rayleigh base rally. So there's a Rayleigh base rally here. So I'm gonna mark this base Rayleigh base rally. So inside here, what can we see? We go to the daily time frame. As you can see, it looks like a drop base rally. Right? Okay, so it's all depends on which time frame that we're looking at, and then we move to a smaller time frame to find even smaller zone for us to entry. Okay, so this is how we look like at the big time frame, and how we gonna move to the smaller time frame to look for a smaller zone. So this is just a multi-time frame of how we look into S&D. Nothing much to show, just a simple basic understanding of how we can look into the supply and demand. So I think that's all I'm going to show you. I will see you again on the next class.